Hello folks, Eddie Lazzari here with Educated Veteran, and today I want to talk to you about bullet statements. On your resume, this is the one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with the most. They understand that they need to have bullet statements underneath their job description of their work history. But a lot of people don't really fully understand what needs to be contained in that bullet statement and how the bullet statement should be structured. And in a nutshell, a bullet statement really is nothing more than a way to communicate your demonstrated ability to accomplish an objective that you've listed in part of your job description. Your bullet statement should not be just a list of job descriptions. I did this, I did this, I did this, or I was responsible for this or responsible for that. Those are all job responsibilities. Those are all contained in your job description. Bullet statements really need to be what and how did you accomplish your job. I've created two documents, and this is something that I provide to my coaching clients when I'm going through and walking through their resume with them. This is all part of the 7-day resume free training online program that I've created. But I wanted to talk briefly or specifically about bullet statements here, and then I'm going to offer you guys something really cool at the end. So the first thing I want to talk about is bullet statement scoring. And I've created this document here. It's for scoring your bullet statement. And each bullet statement, I look at each bullet statement for 5 things. There's 5 things I look for in a bullet statement. The first thing is quantifiable metadata. And what does that mean? This is data that's found in your bullet statement that can be measured, weighed, or has some definitive value. This can be currency like dollars found in budgets, plans, or accounts. It can be percentages to demonstrate increase or decrease or current state. It could be a time-bound unit of measure like hours, days, weeks, months, quarters, or years. Any type of number that can be measured or compared to another sample like number of people or products or services or units. You get the idea. If your bullet statement has no quantifiable metadata, you should consider rewriting it so it does. The second one is front-loaded. I look for bullet statements to be front-loaded. This means that the quantifiable metadata is placed towards the first half of the bullet statement rather than towards the back or end of the bullet statement. What point or achievement are you trying to convey in this bullet statement, and is that point placed at the beginning of the bullet statement? If your bullet statement has no point, or if it's not front-loaded, you should consider rewriting it. Now, why is this important? Because if a recruiter or hiring manager has hundreds of resumes they've got to get through, one, they're not going to read every single bullet statement, and they may not even read the entire length of the bullet statement. They may only read a portion or half the bullet statement and kind of skim down. So if all your really good, juicy, quantifiable metadata is towards the back of that bullet statement, towards the end, then you might get missed. They may not read it. All right, so think of the acronym BLUF, bottom line up front. Put it towards the beginning of your bullet statement. The next one is third person or no person. Ideally, you should not write your bullet statements from any person's perspective. What that means is, I did this, or that's first person. If I write a bullet statement that says, I accomplished this task, that's first person. Third person would be, he accomplished. I'm talking about myself in the third person. He accomplished this task, or Eddie did this. That's third person. Ideally, you want to leave out all first person, second person, third person. Leave that out altogether. Sometimes, however, it is necessary to do so in order to drive a point or give some relevance to the bullet statement. In this case, you should craft your bullet statement in the third person. If your bullet statement is in the first or second person, you should consider rewriting it. The fourth one is one line. Your bullet statement should be one line in most cases. Sometimes it may be necessary to have a bullet statement include a wraparound second line, but this should be on very rare occasions, and it should be absolutely necessary to drive the point of that bullet statement. If your bullet statement is more than one line, you should consider rewriting it. And again, a lot of people that write multiple line bullet statements, they're trying to cram more than one point in one bullet statement. Remember, 1 point per bullet statement. Think about that. And finally, relevant to the job description. Your bullet statement should tie directly back to the job description you have listed in the job position. Your bullet statement should describe how well you executed a portion or section of your job description. If your bullet All right, and so basically those are the 5 criteria, and again, it's all kept here, and you can score each of those bullet statements. So if I write a bullet statement, and here's an example on the sheet of 5 bullet statements that I've written and how I've scored them, and there's a scoring section over here on the right, and you not only want to score your bullet statements and front load them, but once you've scored your bullet statements, here's the trick. Once you score your bullet statements, then you could stack your bullet statements underneath your job description in order of relevance. What that means is if you've got 5 bullet statements underneath a particular job or role that you've had, five bullet statements. Once you've scored your bullet statements, you can actually move them so the ones that score a 5 or have been written the best can be towards the top underneath your immediate job description, followed by a bullet statement that scored a 4 perhaps, followed by a bullet statement that scored a 3. So you're not only front loading your bullet statements, but you're reverse chronologically ordering your job descriptions, and underneath each of those job descriptions you're going to have bullet statements, and now you've moved the most relevant ones or the ones that have been written the most or the best towards the top. Okay? Again, your recruiter and hiring manager may not read every single bullet statement, so the ones that they do read, you want to make sure that they get to those first. So this is basically how it's very spelled out for you. It talks to you about, how do you rank them, how do you score them, how do you order them, and a lot of people that I talked to didn't even know that there was a way to rank bullet statements. So there you have it. And the next document that I have here is 10 bullet statement tips. So if you don't know how to get started with writing a good bullet statement, I've given you 10 tips here. I won't read all of them, but the first one is don't include I or my when writing your bullet statement. It's already implied that it's you. Your name, after all, is at the top of the resume. So here's a bad example. I reduced costs by $30,000 when I successfully implemented a new call center process. You can leave out the I altogether and just say, reduced costs by $30,000 by implementing new call center process. It shortens everything up, it makes it more succinct, and it's just cleaner. Here's another one. Front load the benefit or result. This means bottom line up front. We've already covered this. Here's an example. After only 6 months of implementation, the finance department achieved its goal of 10% reduction in invoice turnaround time. So that 10% reduction, it's mentioned in there, it's quantifiable, but it's at the back or at the end of the bullet statement. So here's how it sounds rewritten. Exceeded goal of 10%, invoicing turnaround time in less than 6 months. Boom. Right up at the front. Very, very succinct. It even shortened that bullet statement. It almost cut that bullet statement in half. All right. There's 8 other tips on here. Talks everything about ensuring your bullet statement is concise enough that it uses one line. It does not use periods, exclamation points, or any form of punctuation. Uses actual numbers and percentages opposed to spelling them out. Begins the bullet statement with an action verb if possible, and it goes on. All right, so I said that I was going to leave you guys with a tip. There's a link in the title of this video, and I'll also put the link in the comments of this video. Click on that link. All you got to do is provide your name and email, and I will email you the PDF version of both of these documents. And if you want to check out the entire training program where I get into everything about the resume, from the structure, typography, bullet statements, get into all of that, nuts and bolts from A to Z, from start to finish, everything that you need to know about a good, effective resume, you can check that out at 7dayresume.com. All right, so go pick yourself up these documents, put them to use. If nothing else, get the documents, pull out your resume, go through and look at your bullet statements and see. Score your bullet statements as they are right now. See how good you've written them. Maybe you did a great job. You've got some 4s and 5s in there already. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you got some 1s and 2s in there, and you could just, it's all about rewriting it, folks. And again, everything I'm talking about is from the perspective of the hiring manager and the recruiter. Your communication is done by the listener. The listener in this case are people that are trying to hire you. So make it easy for them. That's your job when writing a resume, is to make it easy for them to hire you, or to at least bring you in for an interview. I hope this was helpful. This is Eddie Lazzari helping you become an educated veteran.